Hi everyone, this is Rehan Saeed. Just got a top 4 at Toronto Regionals yesterday. So doing this deck profile for my friend Santoli's channel. So we topped yesterday with Sky Strikers, and I'm just going to go over the deck real quick. This is my first time playing Sky Strikers ever, and I really understand why this deck is loved by so many fans. I thought it was interesting into this format, and I think it really proved itself as being, potentially a really high tier 2 contender this format. So we can go into the deck profile. So just getting into the deck profile, we played 3 Ray, 2 Rose, 5 normal summons, and obviously 2 Rose because I'm playing Desires in the deck. I played Triple Ash, 1 Bell because I played the crossout list because it's my first time with the deck, so I wasn't that comfortable in terms of, can I navigate around hand traps successfully around these cards along with, will my plays really get hindered if I tribute Rose? Zero. So I played these, and these were fine. Turn 1, when you're able to dig really deep into your deck, and then you're able to have an Ash in hand as well, it really helps mitigate cards like Mitsurugi Ritual or Rahu that are pretty big blowouts in the deck. OG art, Engage, Linkage, Widow Anchor, and then we have Shark Cannon, Hornet Drones, Eagle Booster is probably the best card in the deck, honestly, in terms of what my games were yesterday. If you're able to establish a lot of advantage and have Engage for the follow-up, and then you have Eagle Booster with a 3000 attack 0, a lot of people struggle to just develop a game plan into that, because usually when you're going second, a lot of people have a game plan of okay, we can try to kill the opponent or put them on no resources, but it's okay, well, if Striker has 3 or 4 sets, a 0 that added back Engage, and you have a board that cannot be broken technically, a lot of people struggle to develop a game plan into what should my actions actually total to. So this card was actually really good for that, and I think anytime I resolved it into a 3k attack 0 or any monster really, it won the game. And then I also played 2 Lemnis Gate. I know people play 1. I wasn't as comfortable in terms of making sure I'm able to do the resource game correctly because my first time playing the deck, so I just opted for 2. Also because the consistency decrease overall within the deck was 0.8% for a 3 of, so it was very, very minimal, and I just thought playing 2 potentially for Desires banishing the 1 copy technically, it'd be better to have it rather than not have it. So I was fine. I did find myself siding it out a lot and to go down to 1 copy, so for future use potentially just 1 copy might just be correct. So those were the striker spells. I think this is pretty standard. Then we have Rhoda, Upstart, 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 Triple Desires, Triple Vision, and the MST. Really fun to draw with this deck. Really, really consistent deck as well. 3 Fallen Virtuous, 3 Droplets, and then Call by, Crossout, and Triple Tactics Talent. So overall, pretty typical list. It's nothing extraordinary. This is probably the one most inspired by Joshua Schmidt and Dinka Bui. So I think it's not super innovative, but I think it shows that it's consistent enough to get several results in the format. And then for the extra deck, I was playing 000, had to return back. Shout out to Ryan. I asked Ryan about the ratio of 0 to Kogari, and he said he thinks that 0 comes up a bit more. And after thinking about it a bit more, 0 being able to grab anything from the deck versus being able to apply pressure by non-targeting pop, I thought it was a bit more flexible than Kagari adding back 1 thing from grave. But for future iterations, I think I'm just going to turn it into 303 Kagari, because one of the cards in this extra deck just never actually came up. So 2 Kagari, 1 Shizuku, 1 of this. This often actually comes up for an attribute to make Azalea rather than anything else, along with getting another body in grave to make Lemnis Gate more of an impactful card. But turning any one of your other Striker links into a dark for Azalea comes up a lot. Hayate, Azalea is pretty good. Camellia was really good for turn 1 plays actually. Anytime you had Ray and Rose in hand, it helped getting engaging grave or a 3rd spell engrave to make your engages more powerful. So it was good for that. It was also good to turn any 2 bodies. I had an Ash and I was able to take Widow Anchor, take an opponent's monster. So turning to any 2 bodies back into Striker Engine was really good. Zeke, I played Combined Maneuver. Because I thought it was really good in terms of the Regeki effect. But the issue with this card is while the Regeki effect is good, it's conditional upon you already, having setups, so Ray and Rose in rotation. But also the biggest issue with this card is that it kind of just clogs your zones when you don't have linkage to be able to get it off and go back into another link that would like extend your gameplay. So it never actually came up, and I think you don't really need it. Excuse me. And then SP, Albion, Ecclesia, and then the Skystriker token. So pretty typical. Probably just will cut the combined maneuver to display a third Kagari, because it sometimes helps you be a bit more greedy with your plays. All right, our fuel center, double droll. This honestly might even be considered to be main deck, because there's a lot of Mitsurugi, Skystriker, and Yami variants running around. But it was fine in the side deck. Being able to like draw a lot of into your deck and then having like droll as like, you know, your going first card is honestly really, really difficult for decks to break. 2 Lava Golem, shout out to Ryan again. He suggested I play this to counter like some of the build a board decks, but also Luna, because he said Hamp was kind of fake. So I haven't had the matchup experience, so I don't know about like Hamp being fake or not, but he said that Lava Golem is much better because you have the guaranteed out 2 double Liger, whereas like Hamp requires you to like not only out 1 Liger, but also have the required setup in place to out the second Liger and recycle Hamp. So those are the only monsters inside. I played double thrust, just for going second purposes mostly. 1 Duster, triple Lightning Storm. I thought this was really good into Radiant Typhoon and Dracotail. Most of my Dracotail matchups were all 2-0s. This definitely helped. And then my Radiant Typhoon match was also really good. So no complaints there. Regeki, because I thought I just want to have like a flex card, just like, you know, break boards going second if the instant came out. But like thrust is always grabbing just engage. So I don't really think this card is needed. I might just turn into a third Lava Golem. DDG for going first. And then my other going first cards were just these, the Solemns. I thought that drawing cards and then ending on Solemns would probably be like reasonable, but they're not the most impactful cards in the world, especially in this deck. So I'm not quite sure what I want these to be. I know people have played Shared Rides before, but it could be Forbidden Crown. But I thought the Judgment was decent enough, because I definitely had instances where I had Judgment plus like I put like 4 back row, and it was able to counter like Storms and Dusters. Whereas like these kind of just like play into the same things. So that was the list overall. I think this deck was really cool. If you're interested in trying something different from the format or unique from the format, I think this is potentially an option. I think its matchup spread is actually pretty decent, contrary to like what I've been told. And it's also just really fun to play with. I think for this regional, I really wanted to have a deck that is able to provide you with some agency and some control with your outcomes. And I really didn't want to play Milcharmy minigames. So you'll notice that I didn't play any Milcharmies anywhere, because I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Has kind of like devolved into this minigame aspect that we kind of mocked the OCG for, of like the Maxi minigame, whereas now we have the Molcharmy minigame where like some decks combust to like Molcharmies, but at the same time, if they have an answer to your Molcharmy, you kind of combust in yourself as well. So I think not having the Molcharmies and not having to worry about that minigame was really good. Shoutouts to Councilor Rubina. Shoutouts to Ryan with helping with some of the side deck theory and the extra deck theory. Shout out to S7. Shout out to David Hartford for lending me 1 copy of Vision. Shout out to anybody that lent me cards that I'm forgetting. And shout out to my brothers for helping me film this video. And shout out to Steven Santoli for featuring me on the channel once again. All right.